Hey, what's going on? It's Stokely from Sauce on Delay. I don't really have much to say, but over this weekend, today's Sunday, all of Saturday, well, not all of Saturday, but majority of Saturday, I had a headache. I still have some discomfort in my head right now, and it's Sunday night, but it seems like it's getting better. But I woke up this morning thinking about my uncle. I have an uncle that he passed away at about 86, maybe about 86 years old. And considering my grandmother passed away at about my grandmother passed away at 105. And my uncle, who is my grandmother's son, passed away at 86. Now, before he passed away at 86, he had some symptoms akin to Parkinson's. His hands would shake and wouldn't stay still. Now, some people say he developed that due to sleep deprivation because he used to work nights, and then he'd be up all day, taking care of the house and all of that stuff, taking care of his kids and all that. So there's some people say that it's sleep deprivation. But he was also a farm worker, and he worked picking oranges on farms that used chemicals to ripen the oranges, and he probably was working around pesticides. Now, unfortunately, he's not here for me to ask him anymore, but he definitely worked around chemicals. He worked on in orchards or plantations or whatever you want to call it, orange farms, where crop dusting was a thing, where they was to fly over with the airplane and spray all of the plants with chemicals that would also ripen the oranges. And I may be somewhat inaccurate. I'm going third person right now regarding this information. So as a result of that, I think he got a lot of exposure, and those things may have affected him neurologically and resulted in his Parkinson's, maybe a good 30, 40 years after his exposure. His exposure was probably around his 30th, and then he started experiencing symptoms, I would say, probably around his 60s, right? And recently I've been watching social media and watching my fellow hippie health nut people talking about all kind of things, including cosmetics. And one thing they indicate, and one thing that we can all agree on, is that added fragrances are things that are known carcinogens. In addition to the fragrances, there's also the phthalates and the preservatives and the things that make things slippery or shiny or whatever. You know what I mean? The things that these synthetic things that are added to the cosmetics to make them more appealing or have a greater shelf life or whatever the case may be. Things that come in contact with your skin, from my understanding, they have to be able to pass the lipid barrier, so they have to be fat soluble. Ingredients that are not fat soluble, from my understanding, are less likely to pass the lipid barrier and penetrate into your skin and become something that, it ultimately gets into your bloodstream. So now, I was just watching another video with a young man. He's probably about 18 years old or so. He's learning about medicine, and he relayed something else. He said, well, when you're smoking and the things that you inhale, When they get into your lungs, they get into those little pockets called alveoli, and the alveoli are surrounded by capillaries, right? And these capillaries take whatever air or oxygen or whatever particulates are in the air, and they pass them directly into your bloodstream, and it gets into your heart and all these other places. So, even if we're not applying these things to our skin directly or whatever, these things could be aerosols. These things could be atomized in the air to the point where they get past the little hairs that are supposed to catch all the particles and all that. I forgot what those are called. Probably called cilia or something like that. I forgot what they're called. But the hairs that are supposed to catch the particles, they might not catch the particles. As a result, those particles get all the way down. And the mucus, your mucus is also supposed to try to catch that too. But if these things are not biodegradable, if these can't be broken down by the high pH or the basic or the alkaline pH of the human body, if that doesn't break it down, then it gets into your body, gets into different parts of your body, gets in your stomach, gets into your lungs, so on and so on and so forth. That's why indoor air quality is so important. That's why making sure that you don't have mold and stuff that's leaking that cause mold. And you don't want to use certain cleaning chemicals. So I'm thinking, as my uncle was working on the plantation, picking oranges, with the crop duster flying over, or even if the crop duster didn't fly over that day, these things are still airborne. These things are still being applied somewhat like an aerosol. They're spraying it over the plants. So he's not only getting these things on his skin potentially, but he's also inhaling them because he's also picking the same fruit that has been sprayed. Now, we already know ourselves that pesticides are dangerous. That's why we try to eat organic. Even the fruits that are sprayed with pesticides, they're washed before they get to our plate. But they still have remnants of pesticides to the point where we're concerned about it and we pay extra. I just bought a thing of strawberries. It cost $6. Or was it $8? I think it was, I want to say that it was probably about $8 for a case of strawberries, organic strawberries. If I bought the regular strawberries, it would have probably cost me about $6. But the environment that we're in has potential contaminants in it that could harm us. I'm gonna pause right now because I gotta pump some gas and I don't want to take up too much time right here because I gotta go. But hold on one second, let me pause. Hey, sorry for the intermission. Maybe you didn't even notice because I paused it. But so what I'm really saying is that there's environmental factors also that are to be considered when it comes to being healthy. Like, for one example, I like to work on my car. For years and years and years, I never used gloves. And I'll be working on the car, and then I have dirt mixed with oil under my nails. That'll be there, and I'll wash my hand until and I never invested in a brush to brush that stuff from under my fingernails. And I would have oil and dirt and whoever knows what else, because a lot of these things contain particulates, they contain lead, all kind of stuff. And I don't know what is getting into my skin. Sometimes I'm working on the car, I get cut, and the oil gets into my car, or the chemicals, Sometimes I'm putting gas in the car, and the gas just permeates right into my skin. Because, gas is it's like alcohol or anything like any kind of hexane or any kind of chemical like that. Those things can dissolve oils. Like you can dissolve oils with that. I have a orange extract cleaner at home. I think the active ingredient in it might be lemonade. But this stuff, when you smell it, it smells almost like gasoline, and you can use it to clean off stuck on grease and oils and stuff like that. So spilling gasoline on myself is definitely not healthy, because the gasoline, I would suspect, is something that could pass the lipid barrier, because it breaks up oils, it breaks up fats. So I've exposed myself. I've exposed myself many times. So, it's just since maybe a few years into my son being born, I decided, wait a minute, you know what? I'm not just exposing myself. I could potentially be exposing him, because sometimes the grease is just in my fingerprints. It's under my nails. I can't get it out. And then I gotta go inside, and sometimes I gotta prepare his food, or wash his stuff, or wash his fruits, or cut up his fruits, or cut up his food, or whatever the case may be. I gotta prepare his stuff, so I can't really do that anymore. So I made a concerted effort to start wearing gloves. But anyhow, I just what I'm really trying to get to is that there's some environmental factors. There's aerosols, there's things in the air, there's things, the cosmetics, there's the cleaning chemicals. These things we're breathing in. If you can smell the fragrance, you're breathing in. If you can smell it, you're breathing in. You know what I mean? Now, some things are, the government, whether it's the EPA or the FDA, they usually determine if something is dangerous based upon the parts per million, or the milligrams per kilogram concentration of that thing. If it's a solid, if it's a liquid, sometimes it's parts per million, I think, or if it's something in the airborne, they talk about parts per million. That's for the most part, from what I understand. So maybe some things aren't very dangerous at low concentrations, but that's, we take risks every day in life, right? I'm driving my car right now. I'm driving on the highway. There's a certain probability of having an accident. No matter how great of a driver you are, you're not the only variable on the road. So anyhow, do I say, well, you know what? It's so dangerous. There's a 1 in a million chance that I might have a car accident. I'm not going to drive. No, we don't do that. We still go out here and we take a calculated risk, because it's 1 in a million chance. So we'll say, we'll be optimistic, and we'll continue. And if it is an accident, then we'll deal with it. You know what I mean? We got insurance, and wear our seatbelt, and we do everything that we can do to be as safe about that. So it's nothing to freak out about. Nothing to freak out about anything. When we hear about and when we learn of these things, I think a knee-jerk response isn't necessarily the best response. It's, a knee-jerk response, or being afraid, or having anxiety, or having being alarmist is not necessarily the right response. Knowing that fragrances are potential carcinogens, you can decide to get rid of your fragrances. You can decide to substitute with essential oils that are potentially safer, in a diluted form, of course. You can go and look up your fragrances that you have and try to find out if they contain harmful ingredients. The only thing about that is that when it comes to the FDA and regulating cosmetics, anything titled fragrance does not have to be declared. So it's going to be hard for you to do that. But you can try to use more eco-friendly and less toxic cleaning chemicals in your home. So on and so forth. One thing at a time. You don't have to overwhelm yourself. And now finding out, when we talk about microplastics, we're also inhaling microplastics. some of that does come from the fabrics that we wear. The fabrics that we wear deteriorate, and a lot of the fabrics that we wear are polyester, nylon, and other stuff like that. Other synthetic, plastic, petroleum-based fabrics. Some people in the hippie community that I like to subscribe to believe that these synthetic clothes don't give you the proper electrical charge around your body and result in result in you not being your optimal self. But it's not something that's going to hurt you. It is not, it doesn't optimize everything. So people encourage you to wear linen. People encourage you to wear cotton. People encourage you to wear, I think the other one is jute. Or to wear, if they're not vegan, then then it's wool. Stuff like that. So there's a lot. There's so much to know, but it's none of them deserve a knee-jerk response. It's just a one day at a time, as you can accommodate it. You can say, this is my last bottle of this fragrance I'm gonna use. I'm not gonna replenish it. I'm not gonna get another one. This is the last bottle of this detergent that I'm gonna use, and then I'm gonna get a better one. Or this is the last bottle of Fabuloso that I'm gonna use to clean my house, and then I'm gonna move to something more healthy. This is the last gas-driven car that I'm gonna use, and then I'm gonna move to electric or whatever new improvements that you're trying to make in order to have a more healthy and or sustainable life. You don't have to knee-jerk response. This is my last bag of Doritos. I admit I did have some Doritos this week. And I think I paid for it because I had a headache. But I don't know if it's the Doritos either. But typically I don't buy Doritos, but I bought a bag of Doritos and it's been there almost a month. Excuse me. Now, I wouldn't encourage anybody to buy Doritos. It contains MSG. It contains a whole bunch of stuff that's no good for you. One of the things I prefer, when I'm behaving myself, is the original Sun Chips. Original Sun Chips don't have a lot of ingredients in them. But the cheese flavored Sun Chips, that has a lot of ingredients in it. But hey, I don't really have much else to say that would be useful. And I thank you for listening. We got to get our sunlight still, right? We're not going to worry too much about too much stuff. The air is dry outside right now and very dusty. There's a lot of salt all around in the atmosphere and on the streets and all of that right now in New York. We haven't had rain. We haven't had much rain. So it's dusty and it's dry and the salt dust is flying all over the place. So, sometimes you gotta still, protect yourself as much as you can, but you're not gonna make it hurt yourself. Not gonna hurt yourself. You're not gonna be alarmist or let it give you any form of anxiety. But I thank you for listening and be well.